The rain had started early that morning, soft and whispering against the glass of the small corner café. Inside, the scent of fresh pastries and roasted coffee beans warmed the air. Near the window, a man in his mid-30s carefully brushed the raindrops off his daughter's pink jacket before helping her into a seat. Her name was Lila, a bright 7-year-old with curious eyes and a habit of drawing on napkins whenever they went out. "Daddy, can I have the chocolate muffin again?" she asked, swinging her little legs under the chair. He smiled, his face tired but gentle. "Of course, sweetheart. Just one muffin, though. We've got to save room for dinner tonight." His name was Evan, a single father who had been raising Lila alone since her mother's sudden passing 3 years ago. Life hadn't been easy between 2 jobs, endless bills, and sleepless nights. Evan often wondered how much longer he could hold everything together. But every time he saw Lila smile, every time she said, "Daddy, I love you," in that small, certain voice, the exhaustion faded for a while. The cafe was quiet that morning. Only a few customers sat scattered around, hiding behind laptops and steaming mugs. The waitress approached their table with a polite smile. Her name tag read Clara. She looked no older than 25, with soft brown hair tied into a bun and the kind of eyes that carried stories no one asked to hear. "Good morning," she said warmly. "What can I get you both?" Evan glanced at the menu. "A small black coffee for me, and," he looked at Lila. "Chocolate muffin and milk," Lila chirped. Clara smiled. "Good choice." She scribbled quickly on her pad. "And what's your name, sweet girl?" "Lila," she said proudly. The pen slipped from Clara's fingers. It hit the notepad, rolled toward the edge of the table, and fell to the floor with a soft clink. Her face went pale as she bent to pick it up. "Everything okay?" Evan asked, concerned. Clara straightened up, her hands trembling slightly. "Yes," she said quickly, forcing a smile. Lila's a lovely name. I used to know someone named that." Evan chuckled softly. "It's a family name, actually. My late wife chose it, said it meant night beauty, or something poetic like that." Clara nodded quietly, her eyes flickering for a moment with something deeper confusion, disbelief, maybe even recognition. But she quickly excused herself and disappeared behind the counter. Evan watched her go, frowning slightly. Lila didn't notice. She was too busy drawing a flower on her napkin with a purple crayon. Behind the counter, Clara leaned against the wall, heart pounding, the name Lila, the father's calm voice, the soft kindness in his eyes. She hadn't heard that name in years, not since she'd been a frightened teenager in a foster home. Clinging to the photograph of a little baby she'd never stopped thinking about, her daughter, the baby she was forced to give up when she was 16. She had named her Lila. Her manager's voice snapped her out of the trance. "Clara, table 5's waiting on that coffee order." She blinked rapidly and nodded, trying to gather herself. She made the coffee, poured the milk, placed the muffin on a small white plate, and steadied her shaking hands. The world felt unreal as she carried the tray back to their table. "Here we go," she said softly, placing the drinks down. "Enjoy." Evan smiled gratefully. "Thank you." As she turned to leave, she couldn't help but glance once more at the little girl. The resemblance was faint, but it was there, the dimple near her chin, the same chestnut curls. Clara's throat tightened. She wanted to ask questions she had no right to ask, but how could she? Lila looked up at her and smiled. "You look sad," she said innocently. Clara froze mid-step. What makes you think that? Lila shrugged. My daddy says sometimes people smile when they're really sad. You have that smile. The waitress's eyes glistened. You're a very smart girl, Evan chuckled. She's observant, that's for sure. Clara nodded faintly, then hurried back to the counter before her emotions could betray her. She busied herself cleaning cups that were already spotless. At the table, Evan watched her, puzzled. She's acting strange, huh? Lila swung her legs. Maybe she knows us. Maybe, he murmured. A while later, when Clara brought the bill, she placed it carefully on the table, but didn't walk away immediately. Sir, she said softly, I don't mean to pry, but your daughter's name, you said her mother chose it? Evan nodded, his expression softening. Yes, my wife passed away. After giving birth, complications. She didn't even get to hold Lila. Clara's breath caught in her throat. I'm sorry, she whispered. Thank you, he said gently. But Lila's my everything now. She's the reason I still wake up every morning. Tears welled in Clara's eyes, but she quickly blinked them away. That's beautiful, she managed, her voice trembling. As they stood to leave, Lila reached into her little backpack and pulled out a napkin, drawing a stick figure family under a rainbow. She handed it to Clara. Here, she said, grinning. For you. Clara took it with shaking fingers. On the napkin, Lila had written in crooked purple letters, For the nice lady who looks like me. Her vision blurred. She knelt down, looking into the child's warm brown eyes. Thank you, sweetheart. This means more than you know. Evan smiled kindly at the exchange, unaware of the storm brewing behind Clara's calm expression. As they walked out into the drizzle, Clara stood frozen at the doorway, holding the napkin to her chest. Her lips trembled as she whispered, Lila. That night, she couldn't sleep. The name echoed in her head, the girl's smile, the dimple, the way her father had said his wife had passed away after giving birth. It couldn't be a coincidence. Somewhere deep in her heart, a truth was knocking loud, relentless, terrifying. Tomorrow, she decided, she would find out. The next morning, the cafe felt different. The soft jazz music played as usual, and the smell of cinnamon filled the air. But Clara's heartbeat was louder than all of it. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the little girl's smile, the same one she used to imagine when she was 16 and terrified in that hospital bed. By mid-morning, she saw them again. The little girl ran to the same window seat, laughing while Evan followed with his gentle smile and weary eyes. Clara steadied her breath and approached, her palms damp. Good morning, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Back again, Evan chuckled. It's her favorite spot now. Clara knelt beside Lila. Hey there, artist. Did you draw more rainbows today? Lila nodded proudly and handed her another napkin. This one had 3 stick figures, a man, a girl, and a woman, holding hands under a heart. Clara's voice cracked. Who's this lady? Lila smiled. It's you. Daddy said you were really nice. Evan laughed softly. She's been talking about you all morning. Something inside Clara broke quietly, like glass cracking beneath water. She turned toward Evan. Can I ask you something personal? His smile faded slightly. Of course. You said your wife died after childbirth. Was she from the city? He hesitated, confused. No, actually, she was a foster mother at the time. She took in a newborn whose teenage mom had to give her up. The birth mother disappeared. We adopted the baby officially 2 years later. The cafe seemed to blur around her. What was the baby's name when she was born? He frowned, then softly replied, "Lila Rose." Clara's hand flew to her mouth. Tears spilled over. Evan stood, alarmed. "Clara, what's wrong?" She shook her head, unable to speak. Then, finally, in a trembling whisper, she said, "Because that's the name I gave her." The silence that followed was heavy and sacred. Lila looked up between them, confused, her eyes wide and searching. "Daddy, what does she mean?" Evan's lips parted, but no words came. Clara fell to her knees, reaching out but stopping herself midway, afraid to scare the child. "Lila," she whispered, voice breaking. "I was so young. I wanted you to have a better life. I thought I was doing the right thing." The little girl stared, then looked at her father. Evan's eyes softened hurt, but understanding. He crouched beside them both, his voice calm. "You're her birth mother?" Clara nodded, tears flowing freely. "I never stopped thinking about her." Evan's hand trembled as he reached for hers. "Then, maybe, fate decided it was time she knew you." Lila hesitated, then slowly wrapped her tiny arms around Clara's neck. "You can still come to the café with us," she whispered. Clara's sob turned into a trembling laugh as she hugged her back. Outside, the rain began again, soft, gentle, forgiving. And for the first time in 7 years, Clara didn't feel empty anymore.